Before I'd ever tell, stone pillars crack under the weight of hell. Got a vision, blood all in the wishing well. I'm about to blow out my chakras, baby. Cause I slide, I drift through dimensions. It's not tough for me, it's too much for you. Look once, twice, I'm time bending. Beam upon my chest, but I'm slipping through. Jet black, I'm masked by the night. Cold heart, throw that to the side, yeah. I'm a limit, but I never push it farther. Cause I live to be a hero, not a martyr. Jet black, I'm masked by the night. Cold heart, throw that to the side, yeah. I'm a limit, but I never push it farther. Cause I live to be a hero, not a martyr. Throw the man serious to keep him quiet. Let that feel burn, we never try it. Live a long time, make up revive it. Stay to fight it, or die silent. Sure can I hit? Curse mark on my wrist. Cause all these black diamonds dancing like they don't fit. Showing on my eyes, baby, I see through the best. Village in the leaves, but I never left. Can you feel the lightning when I strike out? Try to replicate, but you don't have the guts. I feel like I'm going with the lights out. There's a demon in my body and it's calling for blood. Jet black, I'm masked by the night. Cold heart, throw that to the side, yeah. I'm a limit, but I never push it farther. Because I live to be a hero, not a martyr. Jet black, I'm masked by the night. Cold heart, throw that to the side, yeah. I'm a limit, but I never push it farther. Because I live to be a hero, not a martyr. Throw the man serious to keep him quiet. Let that feel burn, we never try it. Live a long time, make up revive it. Stay to fight it, or die in silence.
And we are live. Hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to, fittingly enough, the final ROH review period for the unforeseeable future. And yeah, welcome to Grapple Gurus, your pay-per-view and PPV and PLE review show here on the BC WrestlePod network, YouTube, Twitch conglomeration syndicate thing we got going on. And we are here to review ROH Ring of Honor's Final Battle. I am one of your hosts, Mikey, and joining me tonight is the lovely Dalton Whitecastle himself, Jesse, in the building. Jesse, we have so much to discuss today.
It's a bittersweet discussion and opportunity tonight. I will say that
it definitely is, and yeah, we'll get to it at the very end of this review, but we are here to review ROH's final pay-per-view of 2024 in Final Battle, which took place in the Hammerstein Ballroom of all places, which was fantastic. Love to see that. And also AEW programming is also coming from the Hammerstein this upcoming week, so that's going to be fun. But before we break into our pay-per-view review and our overall thoughts about everything that went down, just a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so already, if you like watching our shenanigans live or on the replays on YouTube and Twitch, make sure to subscribe to our, social medias to get extra content and craziness. You can follow, we are pretty much everywhere on BC WrestlePod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We have a Patreon. You can download the Next Level app to find everything in one convenient place for you. We have merchandise. It is so fantastic. And you may want to be following those social medias because there are going to be some fun announcements this upcoming week once we get past the holidays that are going to tell us what 2025 looks for us here at BC WrestlePod. And then, of course, just because this is the final ROH review and anybody who has been following us for a very long time knows that we have a love-hate relationship with ROH at the moment. So, just as a warning, me and Jesse are going to be talking about our opinions of everything that went down on Final Battle. So, we appreciate the comments. We appreciate all the conversations that can be had. But you'll get the only warning that if you are a complete turd, a tool, a Neanderthal, or just downright not a good person, and you spread hateful stuff and target anybody or anybody here or any of the wrestlers we're about to talk about, you will be blocked, you will be banned, you will be bamboozled. In the words of Willy Wonka, you lose. Good day, sir, madam, and non-binary folks. You have been warned. Because I have a lot to say tonight. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs for this one. Let's just get into it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
I can't follow that.
We are going to briefly cover 0 Hour, and then we are going to spend most of our time on the main card. As we always get with ROH, they added 4 0 Hour matches the day before the event. So we're going to start with the one that opened up 0 Hour, which was the Dark Order versus the Grizzled Young Vets. I wanted to care more about this in terms of building into this match. Really, it was only a 2-week build, and GYV pick up the victory. I mean,
it wasn't a bad match. I just had nothing.
Oh, no. No,
and that's been the problem with Ring of Honor the entire year. Is it's not that it's bad wrestling; they just give me nothing to care about.
We're going to be repeating that a lot throughout this.
Fortunately, yeah, that's just the nature of the beast right now.
And yeah, we'll get into that. But I agree with you. I think the in-ring was fun. Just the shenanigans for the last 2 weeks have been somewhat fun, but they haven't done enough. ROH has not done enough to make me invested in this. And I'm kind of surprised that GYV picked up the victory here, given the fact that they won the 8-man tag with Shane Taylor Promotions on the night before on the Go Home episode, if you want to call it that. And
yeah, but if we look at Dark Order's
track record,
track record in the past, they weren't going to win.
The Dark Order never gets a win. I don't know what we're doing with them. And I also don't know what we're doing with GYV. Like, are they in Ring of Honor? I don't get it. It is what it is at this point. Now that they're no longer New Japan Strong Tag Team Champs, maybe they're going to be around even more. Who knows at this point? Great match. Just the story investment did not make me invest in it more than what it was. This next match had no story build up, but I must say I was also very impressed because next up we had Harley Cameron taking on Hanako of Stardom. Love her. She's fantastic. I don't care what nobody says. I am a fan of Harley Cameron as our crazy person in AEW. Again, this was a fun match. Hanako does pick up the victory here. Yeah.
I love this match. I think this was my favorite match of 0 Hour.
Same.
And I know people, for Harley Cameron, for some reason, she's very polarizing. Maybe it's because of her character work, what have you, but she can work. She can wrestle. Like they put on a great show.
I think Harley Cameron in 2024, speaking on her tenure in ROH and plus everything she does for AEW as well, Harley Cameron has been given a lot and just to be doing a lot in terms of her just being crazy. I mean, but just for the fact that she's game for anything, she was with Saraya for a good chunk of 2024. Now she's in maybe somewhat of a program with Rachel Ellering and ROH. She was feuding with Thunder Rosa for like 2 months, which was fantastic. Now it seems that she is also going to be in a feud that involves Penelope Ford, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, which is also huge for Harley. And she put on a really great match against Stardom's own Hanako, but I am happy to see our Stardom rep does pick up the victory here. And we'll talk about the new stuff at the end of this because now AEW and ROH is like, oh yeah, we should probably start promoting Wrestle Dynasty since it's in like 3 weeks. It's crazy that all the other companies have been promoting Wrestle Dynasty and ROH and AEW have been behind the 8 ball with this. But fantastic match. Love me a women's match. Never going to complain. I'm mad this was not on the main card. I'm also mad.
This was a weird placement to have this match.
I'm also mad that the infantry lose yet again. But again, I wanted this to be on the main card. I'm just gonna put this out there.
This kind of just go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I honestly would have swapped this match with the match that went third on the main card, which was QT and Jay Lethal, and I would have been more happy with it. We'll get into that match because I was like not in the mood for that one. But our third 0-hour match is the Infantry versus the Undisputed Kingdom. Again, on paper, this is a great match, and what we saw was a great match because the Infantry are great, the Undisputed Kingdom are great. Why did we put this on 0 hour?
That's the comment that's going to run through this whole night and this whole review. Is some of these matches didn't need to be on the main card. Some of these matches should have been on the main card. And the matches themselves, I'd say about 90% of the matches through the whole night, 0 hour included, were fantastic. But it was the booking decision that bungled the whole thing. Like this match of itself, I wouldn't have changed a thing. How, except for who lost. You went in and out, Mikey. No one can hear you.
There we go. Hold up. Am I coming through now? Yes, maybe so. Cool. So let's talk about this. So on ROH television, if you want to call it television, you've been building up the Infantry and Trish Adora as, since joining Shane Taylor Promotions. You've been building them as this big old faction with everybody involved. And then you have the Infantry picking up wins. You have Trish picking up wins. So you're establishing them now that they're a little more heel-ish, if you want to call it that. So then why do you put them up against the Undisputed Kingdom to have them lose if you have been building them up on ROH TV only to have them lose? And even though it's on 0 hour, it's still part of the pay-per-view. This was where booking decision number 1 baffled me, like you brought up, Jesse. If you've been building up these new heel Infantry and a heel Trish, specifically talking about the Infantry here, why do you have them lose against the Undisputed Kingdom? Putting aside that there was no story build to this whatsoever leading into 0 hour, you have been building and building and building these guys up only for them to lose at a pay-per-view? Yeah.
And they just turned heel recently. You need to let them win some. You need to have them establish it like, hey, this is a new Infantry than you're used to. We've turned heel. We don't care about the rules. We're going to win all of these matches and don't care how we do it.
And I don't blame Undisputed Kingdom. In fact, for everything that we talk about, I don't blame any of it. Well, okay, I take that back. Well, I take that back because when we get to our men's main championship, then I'm going to put that. Other than that, None of the talent are at fault. What we're going to talk about in terms of the negative is going to be booking backstage and what we have been given the last couple of weeks leading into this. And this is where the cautionary flag number 1 came out. Because again, like you said, Jesse, infantry has been being built up on television and they've gotten consistent wins. And then you put them on a pay-per-view against Undisputed Kingdom to have them lose. Why?
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And I'm going to be completely honest. I feel like Undisputed Kingdom did not need to be here. I'm going to be real. If you were going to have the infantry win, and this is no shade because apparently that's all they're good for, I actually would have swapped Dark Order and Undisputed Kingdom. Have Undisputed Kingdom go up against GYV, which would have been amazing. And then have infantry to go up against Dark Order, because Dark Order are your baby faces. Crowd loves them. That is how you continue to get more heat to the infantry, by having them beat a lovable babyface team.
You could have had him gone over a number of tag teams. You could have had him gone over the Iron Sausages. You could have had him go over Nick Camarado and Jacoby Watts. Where have they been?
That is also very true. I think Nick Camarado is still injured, but I haven't found an update as to when we can expect them to return. But again, that goes into a larger problem that we've been having with ROH, is that because everything has been pre-taped and everything has kind of been jumbled together, there's no consistency, no storylines, no nothing. And this is, again, going to be a common theme when we talk about a couple of the other matches on the main card. I liked the match. I really did. The in-ring work is fantastic. It's just that the booking decision of who went over here doesn't make sense, especially what you've been giving us on the presentation on Honor Club for the last month or two.
Mm-hmm.
So then another questionable decision happened in our final 0-hour match, which saw the team of Lee J, which is Lee Johnson and EJ Nduka, taking on the Gates of Agony. So Bishop Khan and Toa Leona. Again, I thought the match was fun. I liked it. Gates of Agony pick up the victory here. Then at the end of this match, everybody goes to shake hands, and then Lee J turn heel because they beat up the Gates of Agony. So on the one hand, babyface Gates of Agony could be very interesting, but heel Lee Johnson and heel EJ Nduka, again, going back to what I just said previously with the infantry who have been presented as heels, Lee J has been presented as a babyface tag team. And because of one loss, then they decide to say, forget about it and turn heel. Like, what?
I wasn't convinced. It felt very forced.
And again, and I'm gonna say this with as utmost respect as possible, because I know some people, and I can hear certain people in the back of my mind being like, well, sometimes we don't have to see, the cracks to begin to show for them to turn heel. People just turn heel. And I understand that, but you have to, if that is the case, like you mentioned, Jesse, you have to make me believe this heel turn was not believable. I don't know why they turned heel. It doesn't make sense that because they lost one match since getting together as a tag team. I know that individually we've had Lee J lose against one-on-one matches with Gates of Agony, but that should not be enough to build up to the decision. I'm tired of losing everything, so let me just turn heel. I don't believe them as a heel. And we have talked numerous occasions and extensively about how Lee Johnson is as charismatic as a priest of Wonder Bread.
And the heel turn didn't make sense to me overall. I don't think it's really going to help this team. Honestly, this could have been them coming out and being, I hate to say it, but kind of proud of their performance, because the Gates of Agony were tag champs for a very long time, and they had a really good matchup against them. So I don't think they should have been upset about losing.
Right, especially since, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm saying this, Lee J is one of the few teams that have come close to give the Gates of Agony a run for their money, because normally we're used to seeing a complete squashes or less than 5-minute matches with other tag teams, and Lee J are the only ones who kind of were able to stay toe-to-toe with Bishop Khan and Toa Leona. But again, the heel turn of Lee J doesn't make a lot of sense. And of course, like always, I don't know if, because even though we're not covering it, I'm going to still be watching ROH. I don't know if they're going to continue to, follow up with all of this, because that's the other thing. With a lot of these pay-per-view matches, we don't get follow-ups for certain things. They're like, we're going to move on to this, which we'll talk about in our main event, because booking decisions and where we're going next is a big question mark. But all in all, final thoughts on this. Match was fun. Heel turn doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm here for babyface Gates of Agony. Heel Lee J is I'm iffy on. I'm on the fence.
I say I'll have to see what comes, but I really don't want to. I have no interest.
Of course, I will keep everybody updated because I'm a glutton for punishment, apparently. So even though we're not going to be reviewing ROH in 2025, I will be watching it and still posting like report cards for it, because Lord knows whatever goes down is going to happen. But that is what's, finishes out on 0 Hour, which now moves us into the main card of Final Battle. After we get an opening narrated by Chris Jericho, of all people, I'm just like, I'm going to be honest, I tuned out. I was like, let me just get these things settled. I'm getting the stream up and running. Like, let's just do the things. And we get into, after our narration with Chris Jericho, into our first match of the main card, which is Mansoor of MXM Collection taking on CMLL superstar Atlantis Jr. Again, this was another match that was made the day before Final Battle airs. So this was announced amidst the episode of Ring of Honor. So, okay, let's start with the positives. I am a fan of Atlantis Jr. I know lots of people on here have not been too keen on him, but that's because ROH Atlantis Jr. and CMLL Atlantis Jr. are completely two separate entities. I love Mansoor. I really, really do. I thought this was a fun opening match because I think it did what it needed to do, and it was just a fun match. However, if we were going to do this, and based on everything that happened, and again, I might be alone when I'm saying this, but 0 Hour for ROH should make you want to subscribe to Honor Club to see what is going to be on the main card. I would have taken this match and swapped it. I'm going to be real. I would have swapped it with Gates of Ag. I would have swapped it with Infantry and Undisputed Kingdom. Have that tag match open up the card and put this on 0 Hour. I will say, though, I understand why they did this, because towards the end of this match, it became a 2-on-1 with Mason and Mansoor teaming up on Atlantis Jr. And then all of a sudden, we see some rumbling underneath the ring, and out crawls a figure, because who should return but Danhausen?
Yeah.
Danhausen has returned. I'm not going to lie. I am a big fan of Danhausen. I think it's safe to say that we love Danhausen here at BC Wrestle Pod, and I was super happy to see him. He evened the odds, which allowed Atlantis Jr. to pick up the victory. Again, the follow-up is what's going to be interesting to see. And if the follow-up is going to actually happen on ROH, or if they're going to pull this to be on AEW, because that's the other problem. And my worry for everything that we saw this evening is, are you going to actually do this on ROH TV, or are you just going to continue this out on AEW? Because we need feuds in ROH, because that is what you're missing along with the storytelling. I am happy to see Danhausen back. I love Danhausen. I also love that after the match after Atlantis Jr. was getting beat up, Danhausen proceeds to curse Mason and then make him eat the jar of teeth, which was hilarious to watch.
I love that spot.
It's so good. The theatrics of this match were fantastic, and I love a good campy match. But again, we could have put this on 0 Hour, have the Danhausen return, make me be like, oh, who else is going to be on this pay-per-view? And then also the follow-up is what worries me for this. But my thoughts before I throw it over to Jesse. I thought this was a fun, campy match. And I think it was perfect in the hindsight of what we got. I think this was perfect to put in as the first spot for the main card. Jesse, comments, concerns, any extra thoughts that you have on Mansoor versus Atlantis Jr.?
The match was fine. I just like all the other ones, and I don't have the why. Like, why are we doing this here? I didn't see a build. Why didn't we have both of them compete in a tag match and Atlantis Jr. could partner with, Commander or anybody else like that he's worked with in the past? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why. I had fun with it, and maybe that's all. Is I need to keep it at the surface. I like seeing Danhausen. I just didn't understand why.
Yeah, I appreciate your thoughts, Jesse. And from here, we move on to our second match on the main card, which I'm biased as hell. Anytime I see Shibata on the card, I'm immediately going to be like, yes, I'm here for this. And this is the one match, and because I love Shibata, I know I'm contradicting myself in saying that I want stories and builds. I didn't care that we did it because this was a very good match between Katsuyori Shibata and the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington. Again, we have seen Tommy here and there in ROH, especially when we did the Canadian stops during the year. And honestly, for me, this was a technical match that I truly enjoyed. Tommy Billington and Katsuyori Shibata very stiffly putting each other in submissions, and the chops exchanged towards the tail end of the match were amazing. I love me a good chop, like back and forth, which is fantastic. And you knew they were hurting after each hit. But ultimately, Shibata does pick up the victory against Tommy Billington. And again, no story builds, but I didn't mind it because I knew what I was getting with Shibata. And honestly, I wish we kind of got some story builds because this would have probably ended up in my top 3 of the night, if I'm being completely honest, if we're including build up and what we got in the match. So I love this match. Again, I'm biased because I'm a big Shibata fan. Jesse, what did you think of this technical match between Shibata and Billington?
Trying to keep it on the surface because I understand I got way too upset over 0-hour matches. This was a really good match. I had a lot of fun with this. Is Dynamite Kid related to the Dynamite Kid?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't certain, so that's why I asked you. But yeah, it was a lot more technical than I thought it was going to be. I enjoyed this.
I believe it's either nephew or son, one of the two.
There is a familial resemblance.
Uh-huh. So if not directly like father, son, definitely uncle and nephew for sure. But again, no story build on ROH television, but this is the one match I kind of give the pass to because I knew what I was going to get into with Shibata and Billington. Both of them, Shibata is a veteran of the industry, and then Dynamite Kid has that pedigree of his lineage as well, so I already knew it was going to be great. This was a fantastic match, and I would not be mad if ROH gave me a round 2 between these two down the line, which I would love. So, match number 3.
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry.
So I'm going to be completely honest. As soon as we started getting build and vignettes for this match, I tuned out during the build. I tuned out during the match because let me tell you why. I didn't think this was going to be a 5-star masterpiece. I wasn't expecting that, but I figured QT does a really good job of putting people over. And you know what? Despite Jay Lethal being Jay Lethal, he is also a veteran, so I knew it was going to be great. I knew I was not going to like this match immediately from entrances alone, especially on Jay Lethal's part, because for no apparent reason, he comes out as Black Machismo Jay Lethal. I'm like, oh God, what are we doing? And for me personally, Jesse, you know this, I love me some shenanigans sometimes. There were too many shenanigans in this match. Like, everybody got involved. There were too many comedy spots for this. And I know that's what QT has been built up to be involved in as the comedic heel in these types of matches over the last couple of months, whether it be in ROH or AEW. I just did not care about this. Jay Lethal wins, cool, fine, whatever. I feel like the shenanigans and the theatrics of the overall match took away from the in-ring because the majority of the action took place on the outside with everybody that was getting involved, from Jeff Jarrett and Karen and Satnam Singh and all of the Double J squad. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, I love me some stupid wrestling, but this was too stupid even for me. I was like, I hate this match.
I could not put it any better than you just said, Mike. Like, as soon as the entrance hit, I was like, why? We've got Black Machismo ode to Randy Savage. We've got QT Marshall doing his NWO ode to Randy Savage. And we have all this nonsense and fluff. And it didn't even feel like a wrestling match. It felt like all the theater kids went, hey, you want to do this? Yes, and let's do this. And yes, let's do this. And yes, it was a yes and match. And it was terrible.
I'm looking around to make sure the professor and JVL don't come out of nowhere and strike us down with lightning for saying that. But sometimes yes and
no, I don't mean
does
that
not need to be done.
Let me clarify before I get struck with lightning. I love theater kids. Like, I always have. I mean, most of them in our group. But sometimes, and they will self-admit, they need to be reeled in. And you can't keep going yes and agree with everything. But that's what happened here.
I'm just like, as soon as this match was made originally weeks ago, I was not invested in this. And then stupid of me to think, okay, I might not be in for the builds, but I know these two are really good in the ring. So maybe they could give me something. And then as soon as I saw Black Machismo come out, I was like, well, I'm going to throw that idea out the window. Again, Jay Lethal wins. Sure.
Great.
Fine. And here's the funny thing. ROH picks the wrong things to do follow-up on, and I don't want them to follow up on this. Let this be over and done with. Let's move on. Give Jay Lethal actual something of substance. Again, whatever you may think of Jay Lethal as a person, I feel that, especially since he is a big staple, if you're going to look at the big players from ROH since the company's inception, Jay Lethal, the Briscoes, Danielson, Nigel McGuinness, like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, like there are so many names that are synonymous with Ring of Honor. Give Jay Lethal something of substance, and I will be behind it. Do not follow up on this feud, ROH, because I'm going to still be watching. And if we get QT and Jay Lethal round 2, I'll be so upset with you more than I already am now. Let's move on, because, okay, when you want to do a heel turn, EJ's heel turn was not it. This one, and I talked to Andrew about this during the watch along, I actually like this heel turn. But again, I need some follow-up from this. But our next match, our 4th match on the main card, is for the ROH Women's World Television Championship, in which we see our champion from Yo Mama's Kitchen, Red Velvet, taking on the challenger in Miss Legit Layla Hirsch. I will say, I knew these two were going to give me something great. I thought this was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. Of course, it was a little bit of a slow burn, a little bit. The first maybe 7 minutes of the match started off slow, but then they picked it up with the near falls and, Layla demonstrating her power and being able to toss Red around the ring and holding her up. Red also showcasing some new moves that I have yet to see her do. It might be one. I'm wondering if she picked those up when she was doing the few shows in Mexico over the last month or two. But let's talk about the reason why I mentioned the heel turn, because at the end of this match, after going back and forth, getting so close, near falls between both of them, Red Velvet goes under the ring and she picks up the whole entire turnbuckle and she's about to go and hit Layla with it. The ref takes it away, goes out to toss it, but while the ref is distracted, we see a wrench tucked away in the back of Red's shorts. She takes that wrench out. She hits Layla across the head with it, knocking her out. And Red Velvet gets the 1, 2, 3, your winner, and still ROH Women's World Television Champ is Red Velvet. Again, match was fantastic. It was a little bit of a slow burn for the first couple of minutes, but then the back and forth was excellent. It showcased both women very well, and I don't hate the ending. I will hate it in hindsight if there's no follow-up and we don't get a rematch between these two at some point. So Red is technically, if not a full-blown heel, she is leaning more towards the heel side of things. When she hit Layla Hirsch like a telltale game, above it I saw Layla Hirsch. We'll remember this. All right, Jesse, I want your opinion. What did you think of the match itself? And what did you think of the shenanigans leading to Red's turn in this match at the end?
Match itself, fine. Best showing I've seen of Red Velvet since I've been watching ROH with her. Ending, hated it. Absolutely hated it. I didn't think it made sense booking-wise. I didn't think it made sense to make Red a heel. I really didn't think it made sense to have Layla lose here. Layla's just returning, and she's over in the crowd. Red hasn't been here. It would have made sense to put the belt on Layla and somebody who could actually continually defend every week, every other week on Honor Club. So, again, match, fine. Booking decision.
So, I see where you're coming from, and I validate your opinions. Of course, I disagree with the ending, but I am not afraid to backpedal on my opinion because I want to see where this goes. If we continue this feud, which eventually leads to Layla winning the title, I will be a little more forgiving. But I do agree with you because, again, the same problem that we had with Lee J turning heel, I could see a little bit. We didn't really see any heel tendencies from Red leading into this. We didn't see her doing any heel tendencies in her feud with Diamante. And of course, she's been absent for the last month or so in Mexico doing the cross-promotional stuff as well. And also, I also forgot until I remembered looking at my notes, Red also got pinned granted it wasn't for the championship, but Red got pinned to allow Athena to win to secure the ROH spot for the Wrestle Dynasty Fatal 4-Way for the International Women's Cup too. So that also doesn't bode well either. Again, I will be less forgiving about this quick turn for Red if this is a feud that continues and leads to Layla winning. However, if there's no follow-up and we don't get a rematch between these two, then I am going to be more inclined to agree with my cohort Jesse here.
What was the point?
Yeah, that is going to be what I'm saying if we get no follow-up or it doesn't lead to Layla winning this thing at the end of the light, being the light at the end of the tunnel. But we are going to move on to our next match. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you, Jesse. So 2 weeks ago, and I had this conversation with Andrew during the watch-along and even leading into it, Lee Moriarty defended his Pure Championship 2 weeks ago against Matt Taven. And my biggest question was, because I will say this, we didn't review it, but I will say Lee versus Matt Taven was my match of the night that episode. I thought both of them did a phenomenal job. Everybody here at BC WrestlePod knows I am a big sucker for a good Pure Rules Championship match. I love me some good technical wrestling. But my biggest question, and Andrew agreed with me, is the sense that we could have had Lee Moriarty versus Matt Taven here. And I think it would have been fantastic on a bigger stage. That's not what we got. And so it's like, I guess Lee's not going to be on Final Battle. I don't understand why, but, that's fine. Then we get the announcement early in the week that Lee Moriarty will have an open challenge for his Pure Championship. And then I started scratching my head. You could have had Matt Taven and Lee here, but whatever. So Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, Tiger Style come out. We get a little bit of a promo. Shane Taylor talks about that anybody in the back can come out. And Lee Moriarty's ready for this. And who should answer the call but one Nigel McGuinness of all people? So at first I was a little puzzled. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Listen, I love Nigel McGuinness. He is a fantastic wrestler, very synonymous with ROH. And at first, I didn't understand why Nigel McGuinness was answering the open challenge for Lee Moriarty. Then, upon doing some digging, I was a little less mad because apparently McGuinness here trained Tiger Style and mentored him. So I was like, okay, now I could get a little bit behind this. So again, we get a little bit of back and forth from Nigel and Shane Taylor. going back and forth, them trading insults. Lee gets on the mics with Shane Taylor saying, nah, this match is not happening, because we saw a little doubt from Shane Taylor that Lee Moriarty can win it. And Lee gets the mic from Shane, tells him, no, I need this match. I am the pure championship, and what better way than to beat Nigel McGuinness, the longest reigning pure champion, which is a fact that they put on the little placard upon Nigel's entrance. He held that championship for a full year of 365 days. And so Shane Taylor says, all right. And then the match begins. I will say by the end of this match, I enjoyed it a little bit more. What got me frustrated was the first 12 or 13, the first 10, 12 minutes of this match, because we were doing silly, cheap shenanigans with Lee losing 2 of his rope breaks because Nigel was messing around and, being a cheeky heel, if you will, causing Lee to lose those rope breaks so early in the match. And then, of course, we get Lee Moriarty accidentally kicking in Shane Taylor's face halfway through. And then once it's when they get back into the ring after the almost 20 count that things picked up, because then it went into an actual pure championship match. By the end of this, Lee is able to make Nigel tap out via submission, and your winner and still pure champion is Lee Moriarty. Nigel and Lee shake hands afterwards, acknowledge each other. Again, once we got to the second half of this match, I enjoyed it. And this is just a pet peeve, and Jesse, you can agree or disagree with me here. I'm usually up for shenanigans and tomfoolery. But for me personally, a pure rules championship should strictly be that, pure rules. No cheekiness, no extra theatricality with it. It should be, how can I tear my opponent's arm off? How can I make them tap, submit, or make them pass out? Of all the championships in ROH, to me, the pure championship should be one that is not marred in chicanery and tomfoolery. And I was kind of getting a little ticked off at the very first half of this match. But then once we kind of got past all the shenanigans, and then they went to actual mat-to-mat wrestling without, trying to cause rope breaks through funny business, I then got into it and enjoyed the match itself. Jesse, how did you feel about this? And do you agree or disagree? What are your overall thoughts with this?
The last 7 minutes of the match were great. I can absolutely attest to that much. My frustration, which is a similar point to yours, Mikey, lies around the fact that we should have had Lee and Matt Taven be the pay-per-view match. Nigel McGuinness come back, great big pop, huge legacy person for Ring of Honor. At no point did I genuinely think that he was going to win the title here, because he's not going to come back full time. And that's what pay-per-views are for. They're for when you can genuinely see the title changing hands here. And so it should have been flipped, or find another capacity to bring Nigel McGuinness in.
Right. What should have happened is, if you were going to have Lee and Matt Taven happen, what I would have done is I would have had that match go to the time limit draw, and then have the judges decide in that one. Matt wants another chance, and Lee's like, all right, I beat you once, I'm going to beat you again. So I'll give you a rematch at Final Battle, and then have them do it again here in round 2. And then just have Lee win here by beating him. They could still go the same time limit, but just have him win. It's crazy to me that, I love the match between Lee and Matt that we got on Honor Club 2 weeks ago, because that was a phenomenal match. I wish they were able to do it in front of a larger crowd and in a historic venue like the Hammerstein Ballroom, which has a history with professional wrestling fans across the ages. Again, I agree with you, Jesse. The second half of this match, I enjoyed more, but there are so many things leading into this, and just everything that before the match actually started, I was like, man, it kind of soured me a little bit.
Yep.
I'm happy that Lee is our champion, but now let's let Tiger Style actually have substance with his feuds, because he's proven that he is a fantastic champion. Let's treat him with respect, and let's give him something of substance. So let's move on. So, hi, Nigel. I love you. I just wanted to say that.
Oh,
Okay. When you talk about poor decisions,
this
okay.
pissed me off. This match didn't. This match
Okay.
didn't piss me off. I'm sorry.
You know what? Okay, so Jesse, I'm gonna let you go first in a little bit, but let the preamble of this. This is for the ROH World Tag Team Championships in a Texas Bull Rope match. This is our champions, the Sons of Texas, which is the natural Dustin Rhodes, and the Spanish god himself, Sammy Guevara, taking on Vincent and Dutch of the Righteous. Now, before we talk about the match and the ending of itself, this is one of the few Final Battle matches that actually had build to it, if you want to call it that. You know, there was run-ins, there were face-offs, we had backstage brawls, we had that pre-tape segment of the Righteous like bloodying up Dustin, not sure if he was going to make it to Final Battle. The match itself, I enjoyed it. So taking the ending out of it and then our problems with it, I enjoyed the match itself. It was a Texas Bull Rope match, so ropes were used, bells were smacked across people's faces. Sammy Guevara almost died on a ladder like he normally does. We got blood. The Sons of Texas, specifically Dustin, picks up the victory for his teams, and the Sons of Texas retain the championship. I'm gonna allow Jet. I'm gonna have Jet not allow, because allow is not a word I want to use. I want Jesse to go first because he is like the biggest fan and he is the president of the Righteous Fan Club, which he should be. Jesse, I need to know your thoughts, your feelings about the match, the ending, and just whatever it is that you want to get off of your chest with this one, because I'm probably going to agree with you. So you have the floor, my friend.
I don't know what we're doing at this point. Dustin Rhodes' contract is up with Ring of Honor and AEW, if I remember correctly. Mikey, go ahead.
So, and this is literally breaking news because I learned about this before we went on air. Dustin has re-signed with ROH and AEW. So he's in another multi-year contract with them. So there's that. But let's continue to work on the prior knowledge as if we didn't know that, because this happened way before that announcement happened. So continue.
Okay. The Righteous are the most over tag team in Ring of Honor right now. The Sons of Texas don't really have a following. It was a thrown together tag team that went, oh, wait, they're both from here. Let's throw this name on it. It still doesn't work for me. The Righteous have not only a following, a very cult following, which, you know, makes sense considering their gimmick and their character work. They both can work. They can work with anybody. They can bring prestige to the titles. Sons of Texas have had them and not been here for it. We had a good build. We had a, actual storyline behind this. It's like nobody's told Ring of Honor, hey, you're allowed to let the bad guys win every once in a while, or the perceived bad guys. I don't know why we did this. I don't know why they lost. And where do we go from here? What's the direction from here? What other tag team do we have that's established to go for the Sons of Texas next, to go for the belt next? There isn't any. The Righteous had a chance to take these titles, to hold them for a while, add some value to them, add some prestige to them, go through all the other tag teams in Ring of Honor. And just it felt like at the last minute, I don't know if it was Sammy, I don't know if it was Dustin, felt like they pulled a Hogan. That doesn't work for me, brother. And then now all of a sudden, the Righteous lose again. The Righteous get the same booking that, hold on, I know the name, but I'm trying to think of the right iteration of it. Either way, Wyatt family, height of Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt booking. They get the same booking as him. Great builds, awesome match. Yeah, we're not going to let him win though. So this happened about this time last year with MJF. They don't get to win the titles in a handicap match, and now we're doing a flashback to that.
Oh man, was I so mad? We were all mad when that was happening. But so I'm done.
I can't, between this and whatever happens tonight, I can't support Ring of Honor anymore. I was hoping they would do not even the right or the good thing, but the basic comprehensible thing, and they don't. They can't do it. They can't seem to get out of their own way with it. So I will continue to support the righteous where they go, but I'm not supporting this brand anymore.
Yeah, ROH has made it really rough this year pretty much all year, but the decline really started after Supercard of Honor back in April, because the rest of the spring, the summer, the fall, and now leading into winter has been rough with this one. But it goes back to what we discussed earlier. Again, I thought I had a fun time watching the match, but it makes no sense for you. And this is the same thing. While the circumstances were different, we had the same issue when we had the infantry going up against the Undisputed Kingdom when they were tag team champions. And the reason they lost was because of a run-in from Wardlow, and then there was no follow-up for it. And again, infantry had all the momentum. The fans were behind them, and then they lost because of a run-in. The same thing here. The righteous, momentum, crowds behind them. They, day in and day out, every time they are on ROH television, they always give 110%. And I get that Dustin and Sammy are more established names, and I use that term very loosely. So are the righteous. I think it would have been better for the righteous to win because Sammy and Dustin are more interesting to me when they chase the championships than being champions themselves. And that's because Sammy, I think, as a babyface, I've enjoyed him more when he's chasing a championship. When he was going up against Cody Rhodes for the TNT championship, when he was on his own and he was feuding with the Don Callis family, and babyface chasing championships, Sammy Guevara, to me works better. And then I think Dustin chasing a championship is more interesting too. But because the Sons of Texas have retained and all the momentum now has been taken away from the righteous in this loss, ROH has wrote themselves in the corner because where's the Sons of Texas going with all of this? And then where do the righteous go? You literally built them up and then they lost. Unless you're going to give them a chance for a rematch in some capacity, I think this was the wrong decision. And this is not hyperbole. This is fact. Jesse agrees with me. Andrew agreed with me during the watch along. It makes no sense for the Sons of Texas to retain here other than their more established star. And again, I use that term loosely. And it sucks because I like the actual match. I just really hated the ending. And that booking decision really took a lot of the enjoyment away from me after we witnessed an 18-minute bout where everybody, including Dustin, was giving everything they had. I will say, though, even though it was an accident, I did get a chuckle out of Dutch accidentally getting smacked in the face with the bell after Dustin was moving it around, and it just
that was pretty funny, yeah.
And Dutch saw that, he's like, ow! So I got a chuckle out of that. But I got so frustrated with the ending. I was like, what the hell is happening? Don't worry, because this is not the only match where I'm going to bring this back up, because I was mad here, but I was baffled and more upset with what happened in our main event, which we'll get to in a little bit. But the Sons of Texas are still our champions. Who knows where we're going with them? Who knows where we're going with the righteous? The righteous, I'm just putting it out there. If you want to go to TNA, I'm not going to be upset. I'm just saying. Because if they're not going to be given a tag title run, they need to go find something else to do. Because obviously ROH doesn't believe in them for some reason, and this definitely showed by not giving them the titles here.
I sent Vincent a message after it happened, saying that it was a great match, but I don't know what ROH is doing there. It seems like they need help and direction. And he responded very nice with saying, he appreciates it. And he's not going to say any more than that, which makes sense business-wise. But I'll tell him directly. I'm a righteous fan for life. I will follow them and support Vince and the Dutch wherever they go.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really hard to support Ring of Honor and whatever they're going to be doing next.
So we're going to move on from this because I had to collect myself after this match because I didn't want my feelings to take away from the work that our next match was going to give us. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Jesse. This was my match of the whole entire fucking night. This was my match of the night.
I was so confused by this match.
Okay, so we'll talk about the confusion, but this was my match of the night. So this is for the ROH World Television Championship. So this is a survival of the fittest match, which is basically all 6 participants. This is a fatal 6-way, and it's an elimination style match. So it's basically last person standing is going to win. Again, I had questions when I saw this match on paper because no build whatsoever for this. So Brian Cage going into this is our champion. Spoiler alert, he is no longer the champion, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Brian Cage was the champion going into this, and he had to defend his championship against Willie Mack, Mark Davis, Commander, homie and friend to the channel, AR Fox, and me and Andrew's personal favorite wrestler right now, especially for the amazing work he does in GCW, in Blake Christian, who has also been on March.
He's got a terrible mustache.
I mean, the mustache game, totally understand him, and he was one of my highlights of this whole entire match. But so elimination style, last man standing wins. Jesse, we're probably going to disagree a little bit on some stuff, and that's okay. But for me personally, this was my match of the night, and I think it's a testament to all of these 6 men. I yelled at Brian Cage so going in order. Willie Mack gets eliminated first, and I yelled hate crime to Brian Cage. I was like, how dare you? Can we talk about his Juggalo Christmas inspired gear though? That shit was funny and amazing. Willie Mack is amazing. I loved him. AR Fox gets eliminated second. Not to say that his previous matches weren't great. This is the best showing of AR Fox's wrestling in what we have come to learn. He's always been a fantastic wrestler. For me, this was his best showcase. Like the stuff he was doing, I was like, ooh, I want more unorthodox style of wrestling. And I feel like AR Fox gives that to me. Again, ROH, we need to capitalize on this. Give this man something of substance, because I feel like AR Fox proved in here that he can go, and he's been doing the ROH tapings for the last couple of months too. Give this man something. So I also yelled hate crime at Brian Cage when AR Fox got eliminated. I'm like, hate crime. But then eliminating third is our champion, Brian Cage. So by this point, we were guaranteed a new champion, and it came down to the final 3 of Mark Davis, Commander, and Blake Christian. The dad bod, daddy god himself, and my personal baby daddy, Mark Davis, does get eliminated, which then leaves Commander and Blake Christian. I'm not going to lie. Me and Andrew were pulling for Blake so hard because it would be crazy to see a GCW wrestler hold an ROH championship. But when it got down to Commander and Blake Christian, these boys went nuts. I honestly think this one-on-one was fantastic. And again, Jesse's probably going to disagree with me, and that's okay. I don't care. I'm just kidding. These 2 went to town. They went to work. They were multiple near falls. But by the end of this, your winner and new ROH World Television Champion is Commander. I have spoke my piece. I'm going to have Jesse give his thoughts about all this. So Jesse, walk me through this. What did you think of the setup of the match itself? And and it's okay to disagree with me, but how do you feel about having a new ROH World Television Champ?
Oh, this was awful. This was the worst match. This was worse than the previous. No, I'm kidding. This was a really good match. And it got me because once Brian Cage was like, wait a second. I thought somebody messed up because I'm not used to the title actually changing hands when I can see it happening.
You weren't the only one. Me and Andrew like, oh my gosh, we're actually getting a new champ. What?
Yeah. And then I was just, I know you were pulling for Blake Christian. I was so happy for Commander. I've been wanting him to get into the title run. He always puts on a great match, no matter who he works with. And I'm glad that they're going to utilize him more in that respect. At least I hope they are. So yeah, this was a great match. I don't know if it was my match of the night because I need to go back and look at the card because I was so frustrated by a lot of decisions. I don't think I picked one. But this was a great match.
Like I'm saying, I want to see more AR Fox now on ROH television. Like, make him a staple in this mid-card division, if you will. Because I think he's great. I would not be mad if Mark Davis wants to stick around ROH for a little bit and put him in a program. That'd be fantastic. These 6 men did an amazing job. Also, Brian Cage, I know you can probably squish me with your bare palms, and I apologize for making fun of your bald spot during the match. But I love this match, and I agree with you. I am so happy because the funny thing is, too, going back and doing my research, Comandero was also the final one in the last Survival of the Fittest match that we had for this title, too, because it was him and Kyle Fletcher going at it. And that match and that one-on-one was fantastic. And Blake Christian Comandero did amazing. I also really appreciated the social media exclusive, like when he went backstage, like he just broke down in tears. He was crying, like he in Spanish, he was saying, he worked so hard to get here. And I could not be more proud of Comandero. I'm so happy. Again, ROH, don't mess this up. Give this man something of substance. Give him some good feuds. Like, have him be on television more than Brian Cage. Love you, Brian, but it wasn't your fault. It's just they didn't put you on ROH too many times.
Well, they stuck him with Don Fallis, so there's really nothing he can do.
Yeah. So in hindsight, if Comandero is going to be on ROH more, I love this side for him. This, again, for me personally, this was my match of the night. Loved it. So we move on. So by this point of the show, this match definitely lifted my spirits. Everything was great. Again, this moment at the end made me cry a little bit because I'm so happy for him. And so this match definitely helped save my frustration from the tag team match, lifted my spirits up. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? Final Battle, we've had some ups and downs so far this evening. This match definitely helped me enjoy it a little bit more. And I was like, all right, so let's see what's next. Well, first, we get an interruption.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's technically ROH related, but after, the Survival of the Fittest match, we do get a promo from the House of Torture. So a New Japan faction who challenges the Sons of Texas for the ROH Tag Team Championships at Wrestle Dynasty. So I'm like, okay. Are the House of Torture going to win? No, I don't see it. So, but hey, you know what? Sammy and New Japan in Japan just makes sense to me, and I'm happy for him. But I can care less about this because the other matches we're getting are kind of fire. But I was still excited. I was like, hey, you know what? Wrestle Dynasty is going to be fun because I'm thinking about, the matches we've got announced so far. I'm excited to get like all the different folks from the different promotions together to cover the review, which I think is going to be fun because it allows all of us to really get together and especially work with people we don't really get to. And I was kind of doing great. And then,
yeah,
I'm going to be completely honest. Whereas QT Marshall and Jay Lethal was not a match I really cared for, that was not my worst match of the night. This was my worst match of the night for a variety of reasons. Number one is Chris Jericho. So that's an automatic deduction of 1,000 points. But before I get into all that, so this was our semi-main event. This was for the ROH World Championship. Chris Jericho, El Nueve, defending his title against always ready Matt Cardona. This was not a great match. And this was not the fault of Matt Cardona. It's just Jericho just can't keep up anymore. And again, too many shenanigans for my taste. We had Bounty Hunter, Brian Keith out there. We got the return of Large William, a.k.a. Big Bill.
Oh, Cats. Big Cats.
Sure.
I love bringing that up. I do. Just because I know it makes John mad.
That's for you, JPL. See you soon, bud. Yeah, this was not a great match, Jesse. This was not a great match. And I put the blame on the booking decisions. Chris Jericho just did not do it for me. Matt carried. And then to make things worse, apparently it's reported that Matt is now hurt after this match, which makes me upset. I was like, no! Because he's supposed to do things in GCW for the next couple of shows, and that makes me mad. So before we talk about what transpired after the match, because I also have news about that, because we visibly saw, and me and Andrew were just like this by the end of this. We're like, are you kidding me? Jesse, just the words
was exactly as I expected it to be. The opening with Jericho coming out, the King of New York, It's so stupid, but he makes it work because as much crap as we give Jericho, we got to give him his flowers. He is probably the best at getting that cheap hometown heat. Like, he does his research on it better than Tony Nese. But that's kind of where the pros in this end. The match itself was not very good. I understand Tony Khan's decision in putting the ROH belt on Jericho to make it more of a household name, but you need to be more selective of who you have him defend his title against in order to preserve that kind of mystique and preserve the prestige around the title, because Chris Jericho, amazing wrestler, Hall of Famer, certainly, he can't work with everybody anymore. He just can't.
No. And, speaking of challengers, so let's combine what you said with what happens afterwards, because we do get a return. Oh, wait, I guess I didn't put the Anyways, but we do get a return after this match, and this is former ROH champion who had to give up the championship due to injury, and Bandito. Bandito comes back. I was excited. I love me some Bandito. And so we're going to set up Bandito versus Chris Jericho. Awesome. Bandito gets on the top rope, drop kicks Jericho, and me, Andrew, and you saw it too, Jesse. This man rocked himself on the landing, because when he got up, he was not there. And I'm like,
he didn't know where it was.
Oh my gosh. And me and Andrew are just sitting there like, oh my gosh, this man just rocked himself.
He knocked himself out.
He knocked himself out. He didn't know where it was. And then to come to find out, he returns at Final Battle, and because he knocked himself out during the drop kick, he's now entered concussion protocol. I'm like, no, why? I was like, oh God. So when you couple the match and then what happened afterwards, this was the worst thing of Final Battle for me personally, because, oh man, I feel so bad for Bandito. And I was telling Andrew this, and I apologize if this sounds a little bit dark. I'm wishing a speedy recovery to Bandito. We don't know how long he's going to be out in concussion protocol. There is such irony that since Jericho has won this title, nothing good has came of anything that has transpired. And I'm not blaming Jericho, because what happened to Bandito is a freak accident. Like, it was not his fault. Just the irony of the situation of, since Jericho took this title off of Mark Briscoe, we really don't have any real challengers that can possibly take this title off of Jericho. We were setting up Bandito and Jericho, but now that's got to be put off because, Bandito is now back on the injury list due to concussion protocol. And now Matthew Cardona is hurt too. I'm just like, this really sucked the life out of me. I was like, God, this was not great.
I was so flat at the end of this, and all I'm thinking is, okay, the next match is going to do it. It's going to be great.
So I want to start off with positives. So we do get to our main event after this, as Jesse has stated, which is for the ROH Women's World Championship, which deservedly so should main event, because this is the best and the longest story that we have gotten going into Final Battle. This has literally been a 2-year story, which then picked up into the next chapter a couple months ago. So this is the champion Athena defending her title against the challenger and Miss Billy Starks. So first and foremost, I would like to shout out Billy Starks for, having ring gear inspired by Sumi Sakai, who is a previous women's champion in ROH, which I loved. But listen, we're going to get into the ending of this, but prior to this, me and Andrew were just nerding out, because then Athena comes out as the animated Batman Two-Face cosplay. That's what it was. It was so good, Jesse. Listen, we know that Athena is a big old black nerd. We love her. We love her anytime she cosplays. She plays Dungeons and Dragons. She does Magic the Gathering. She loves comic books and anime. She is a girl after my own heart, and she can beat a bitch's ass too when needs be. So I loved the face paint, and I was like, this looks so accurate to the animated Batman Two-Face makeup with the blue and the green. Oh, it was so good. Then we get into the match itself. Again, The match before the ending, I enjoyed. This was definitely a lot more slower pace than their Final Battle 2023 bout that they had a year ago, but it was still good. We get to the ending. Athena hits an O face, and I'm like, oh, surely Billy's going to kick out. 3, your winner and still ROH Women's World Champion, Athena. Me and Andrew were silent. We were like, no, excuse my French. And I was like, no fucking way did they build this up for Athena to retain. And I can only speak for myself because I'm gonna have Jesse speak on this in a little bit. But again, this goes back to what I said previously in this review. You've been building this momentum up to have Billy finally overcome Athena, and this should have been the jumping off point for Billy Starks to be leading the ROH women's division in 2025. You can get it back on Athena towards the end of 2025 if you want, but we have been building Billy up to be the person to take it out of Athena. And the story was right there because she has spent so much time with Athena. Billy, in story-wise, can possibly, and you can reasonably explain, she's been with Athena for so long. She knows Athena in and out. She knows her tricks, and she can use that to her advantage. Athena, to me, did not need to win this match. And this is not a knock against Athena because she's the longest women's and the longest ROH reigning champion, period, regardless of man or woman. But again, this was a poor booking decision. Jesse, I need your input on this too, because again, of all of us that went to New Jersey Wrestle Show back in May, you had such a really good interaction and a good rapport with Billy Starks when you got a chance to talk to her and interview her and all that stuff. As someone who has invested so much love and support into Billy, mirroring my love and support like I have for Bianca Belair, because a similar situation, I gotta know why, like, huh?
This broke me. It broke my heart when it happened. I'll be honest, I didn't watch any of the credits or anything after or listen to Caprice because once they counted 3 and I saw there wasn't like a referee coming down to dispute the count or anything, I just turned it off. I didn't watch anymore. I couldn't watch anymore. I felt sick to my stomach. It's Billy's time. It has been Billy's time. I thought she should have won it last year, but we run it back from last year after another year of staying under Athena and Athena's tutelage. It's right there. She learned everything she could from Athena. It's time for her to step forward. She knows Athena better than anyone else because she's been working with her for so long. It was time for it. It was time for it to happen. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where we go from here. Like, where does Billy go? Does she go back and try and get the TV title to get back into Athena's good graces? I don't think so, because we just had another Ring of Honor, which I didn't get to watch, where there was in another emergency mim where Athena's kicking somebody out. Which, come on, let's know she's going to be kicking Billy out.
Of course.
And where does Athena go from here? She's already run through everybody on the women's roster. She's run through everybody they've brought down from the other promotions. This was such a bad booking decision. It broke my heart when it happened, but I felt vindicated in my decision of not wanting to review Ring of Honor anymore.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate bit. So,
like, I'll be honest, there was a long time where I wasn't watching any wrestling, but I would go on and look like on YouTube or any of those kind of outlets just for specific superstars. Like, I would just watch stuff for Bray Wyatt, or I would just watch stuff for Taker when that was going on. That this is pushing me to that again. Like, I just want to watch what's going on with the Righteous, and I just want to see what's going on with Billy. And that's my capacity more. I can't care as much as I have been about this when they're just not making any sense and not making any of what I deem to be the right decision. Now, again, I'm not an expert. I'm not running a wrestling promotion. I don't know what is the best decision. All I can do is conjecture based off of fan service and what fans like and what, is feeling in the wrestling community at the moment. So I'm not an expert, and I know that. But this one hurt.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I want to talk a little bit more about this before we go into our final thoughts, and then also me getting through the remaining news, which I mean, I can say now. So, I spoke to Andrew about this on the watch along and also after we went off air for that too. Billy should have won because Athena's already still doing something big for ROH. She's going to represent ROH in that fatal four way at Wrestle Dynasty in Japan by competing against, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit because now all four women in that match have been made. But I feel that Athena didn't need to be the women's champion to represent ROH in Wrestle Dynasty. And again, I 100% agree with you. Billy was truly like the last woman who had a possibility of beating Athena and taking down her 2-year reign. But now that Billy has lost, to me, it should have happened here. You should have ended ROH with Billy Starks being the champion. And then Athena can still go on and do great things for ROH. And then we could have gotten a rematch with Billy versus Athena, where Billy truly wins and causes Athena. And if Athena is ready to go up to AEW, like you could have had a loser leaves ROH match in the championship, and I would have been fine with that. Athena has done everything she possibly can in ROH, and I think she's ready to move on over to AEW and go against the women on that roster and let Billy have new feuds with other ROH women. But I am so baffled, Jesse, as to there's literally nothing else for Athena to accomplish. She has made a name for herself. She is the longest reigning champion. She has run through the women's roster, and I feel that she's honestly ready to move over to AEW. Like, again, we complain about AEW taking ROH talent, but this is the one time where I think Athena's ready to go to AEW and be on that programming and to fight the women over there. But I just don't know. And if you are building up Billy where she gets one more chance at Athena and then she wins, I'm going to be excited. But you have derailed and took the momentum away from Billy in such a big way from this. It's not the same impact as if she won in Hammerstein. Like, she should have won here. Like, and again, I'm a big fan of Billy Starks. Jesse is a big fan of Billy Starks. And I understand that I have a bias towards this. But you could have pulled the trigger here, ROH, and you could have done something really cool, but you played it safe. And now there's nothing for Athena. The only possible thing I can think of, which also doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me, is because a certain somebody is going to be doing ROH tapings for a little bit. And that person is going to be going up against Athena, which I'll tell Jesse afterwards. But it should have been Billy. Billy should have won. Billy honestly should have won. And it's nothing against Billy, nothing against Athena. It is not their fault. I blame booking. Jesse, I kid you not, because of the ending of our main event, it really took the wind out of my sails again. I can't. So, okay. So my grading scale, if we're going to, equate empanadas into grades, I don't grade anything lower than a C- because I don't think there is truly a D or an F type of show. This got a C- for me, which is the lowest I go on my scale, which probably would equate to maybe 4 or 3 empanadas. Because again, in ring, despite some of the matches not being my favorite, is always fantastic, and the wrestlers did the damn thing, and I was entertained. But booking decisions, taking momentums away from wrestlers that you have been giving momentum to on ROH television, weird turns, really, really soured me. And so I can't give ROH Final Battle a pass for giving me good wrestling because I'm done giving them a pass. Like, they have to be held accountable for these weird decisions that they're making. So yeah, I give this a C-. I give this like a 3 or 4 empanadas out of 10, if that's the equation of the scale. I was just so disappointed by the end of Final Battle. And it sucks because it's not the talent's fault. It's the backstage and the booking decisions that are ridiculously killing ROH's chances of getting somewhere where they need to be. Jesse, what are your final thoughts before we get into our final piece of news?
This was a 2, and it's I was so broken up and distraught by 2 very big booking decisions, very big matches for me, that I couldn't even focus on the rest of the card, 0 hour, how everything else went. I was just focusing on how this overall pay-per-view made me feel, and it made me feel like a turd, as you would say, Mikey. So this is a 2.
Yeah. And, Jesse can correct me if I'm wrong with this, and I try not to speak for people because I don't think that's something I can do really well. But for me, I was disappointed, but because I cover everything else from AEW to TNA and all these other promotions that I watch and cover here, I think it makes it easier for me to not be as disappointed. But again, and Jesse, you can correct me, am I wrong in my assessment here? But when I think about this and when the show was over, and I was thinking about you after watching the show, and I thought to myself, ROH has done a really crappy job of.
Full stop. That's the end of the sentence.
I mean, that's fair. But no, ROH has done a crappy job this year in 2024 of taking the love and the faith that somebody like you who doesn't necessarily watch a promotion on a weekly basis but keeps up with everything that's happening, but you gave your time and your love and your effort to ROH. And I sat to myself thinking, ROH did a shitty job of taking all of that and crumpling it up and playing in Jesse's face by taking that faith and trust and love and their time and kind of just spitting on it with these weird choices. And Final Battle I feel like Final Battle did a shitty job when it comes to fans like that. And I'm so upset. And again, I don't want to say I'm speaking for Jesse. This is just my assessment, but I don't think it's fair to you, Jesse, that our Final Battle did this. Like, it's not cool. Again, it's easier for me to kind of not think about it because I have so many other promotions that I watch on a weekly basis. But I'm thinking about you and the other fans that just strictly decided to glue onto ROH because I feel like they've done a shitty job of treating their watchers with the respect that they deserve.
You wonder why your viewership's down? This is why. I have a very finite amount of free time to watch wrestling during the week. I specifically chose ROH because I felt it was underrepresented. But now I feel like I'm getting punished for that decision.
Yeah, and it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to other people who are in the same boat who are in a similar position, don't have a lot of time to watch weekly wrestling, and decided to choose ROH for whatever reason. And in 2024, I feel like ROH did a shitty job of respecting the fans in general, but also specifically, more importantly, respecting the fans who decided to make this as their weekly flagship to give the time, effort, and love to. ROH, and this is not hyperbole, this is just a true factual statement. Shame on you, because I'm disappointed with you in the way that you treated my time, Jesse's time, Andrew's time, JVL's time, and the rest of your fans' time. In-ring work can only carry you so far.
If I can find Ring of Honor's headquarters, like whatever their mailing address is, I'm going to send them a get well soon card. Not that but just that they could do a lot better.
Be like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
No, I'm mad. I'm beyond mad at this point.
I'm mad and disappointed. We'll come.
I'm mad disappointed.
I'm mad disappointed. Oh my goodness. So the only other thing that I have, like I mentioned before, after after Honor Club last week and then Japan this week, we do have our final representatives for Wrestle Dynasty for the International Women's Cup. So Athena is representing ROH. Persephone is representing CMLL. I believe Momo Watanabe is representing Stardom. And then Willow Nightingale is representing AEW. So I'm excited because all the women participating are women of color. So we got 2 black girls, we got Mexican, and we have a Japanese women's wrestler. So non-white people, which I'm excited for because that was my biggest worry. I'm gonna be honest, ROH, you disappointed me, but that Fatal 4-Way is gonna be fun, I think, at least. and speaking of that match happening at Wrestle Dynasty, so and I can't believe I'm saying this, despite me and Jesse taking an absolute dump all over Final Battle. Hopefully, if Jesse's time allows it, I'm hoping to have him be a part of the Wrestle Dynasty review, because we'll see what happens with all of that. We'll talk afterwards, but I'm trying to get at least one representative from all the other promotions, since it's a mega show of CMLL, AEW, ROH, Stardom, and New Japan, and just have a motley crew of people just review it, which I think should still be fun, but we'll talk about that afterwards. But this is a sad way to end our ROH tenure here at BC Wrestle Pod, because I wanted to talk about really great things with ROH, but you didn't give me that. So like Maxine Waters, I want my time, and I'm here to reclaim it. But one thing I did not regret is I got to spend so much time with my compatriot here, Jesse. So I'm going to be honest, that was the best part of the whole entire year, getting to spend time with you and Andrew and JVL and just commiserate in our disappointment in ROH.
Misery loves company.
And that's very true. But I love getting to spend every week with you. And honestly, me and you as a duo has become one of my favorite things recently. So despite everything that went down, Jesse, I thank you for your time and thank you for sticking around ROH. I'm upset at ROH for the way that it treated your time and your faith and respect in it, but I appreciate you being here because you're my friend and I love seeing you every week.
I love seeing you too, Mikey, and we'll find another way to connect.
No, don't worry. Stay tuned over the break because there are some announcements coming and I'm going to try to convince Jesse to hopefully do some stuff, but we'll talk afterwards. But that is going to be it here for us here at the Grapple Gurus. And that is going to be the final review for this week. We will be back next Monday, January 30th. It will be myself, the Professor, and Adolfo as we cover our final thing of 2024, which is AEW's World's End. So stick around for that. But until then, from all of us here at the BC WrestlePod, myself, Jesse, and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will see you next Monday. But until then, sayonara, adios. Enjoy the holidays, everyone out there, whether you're celebrating Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or any other winter solstice-esque holiday. We send you the best and the warm wishes for your loved ones and families. And as always, make sure to take care of yourself, and we'll see you later.